God just reminded me of a dream that I had. I was on a mountain and I started to get discouraged by things that the enemy was allowing me to experience. And so I started going down the mountain. He was trying to discourage me to get me to come down off of God's mountain. This was God's mountain. And as I went down the mountain, it was nighttime and I could hear everybody. It was like nightlife out in the world. You could hear the city nightlife from the halfway point of the mountain. And the further I went down the mountain, the more void I felt. It was just an emptiness, and it was just I was feeling emptier and emptier, and I remembered that there was nothing to return to. There was nothing to go back to. And so I would turn around and I would start to go back up the mountain. And I was actually swinging like you do on monkey bars. That's how I was going up and down the mountain in the stream. And I was getting really tired. And I repeated that a few times. And the next time, the last time, as I was coming back up the mountain, I was in the cliffs of a rock, and it was kind of like a cave set up within the middle of the mountain. And it's hard to explain, but it was like there was an upper and a lower, and I was swinging in through the upper, and I could have gone on up through the lower portion of this cleft of rocks. And I landed inside of it and rested for a second, and there were women below me in the underneath portion, and I had woken them up, and they were complaining. They were saying, "Who is that? What is she doing?" And I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm just, basically had a rough time and I'm headed up." And they were like, "Oh, okay." Well, they were trying to sleep. They were irritated. But they ended up being kind to me anyway. And then I headed back up the mountain, and God told me to stay at the top. And but what He's revealed to me about this portion of the dream that I had forgotten about, because there's different levels to this dream, different details. What He told me was that He was calling me to wake people up, that people are halfway on His mountain and they're asleep, and they think that they're fine. They think that they are good with Jesus, that the way that their lives are right now is acceptable, and that they're in a good place, and that they're safe. So they're sleeping halfway on God's mountain in the cliffs and the rocks. And He's calling me to the top, to stay at the top. And at the same time, He wants me to wake people up on my way. He wants to wake people up with His word. So I thought that was amazing that He brought that back to me. And there's actually a place in the Bible, I'll get the scripture and share it. There's actually a place in the Bible where it talks about His mountain, and it even talks about the caves and the rocks and the cliffs. It's specific and talks about that. And when I'd woken up from the dream, I asked Him what He was saying, and He did bring that to my attention. He did talk about that, and it does talk about people. So I thought that was amazing. I just wanted to share.